cliche line people spit out after a funeral. Time heals all wounds. Yeah, that's bullshit. My wife, Claire, has been in the ground for 11 months, 3 weeks and 4 days. And time hasn't healed a damn thing. If anything, it's made the wound fester, rot in places I didn't even know existed. The house feels like it's rotting with me. At first, it was just little things. A light flickering in the hallway, the smell of her perfume lingering for a second too long. I told myself it was grief, just my brain cruelly filling in the gaps. But then, the symbols started appearing. The first one was on the bathroom mirror, a rough circle with jagged lines clawing out of it. I thought I'd left the shower too steamy, that condensation had just run funny. But when I reached up to wipe it away, my finger burned, not a sting, not heat, a burn, like pressing flesh against ice. I laughed it off. That's what you do when your reality starts breaking. You laugh because the alternative is screaming. But that night, just past 3 a.m., I heard her voice. Not from a dream, not in memory. No, this was real. It slithered through the dark bedroom like a whisper tucked inside my own breath. You promised me forever. My blood went cold. Claire's voice, hoarse, bitter, like she'd been screaming from inside the dirt for nearly a year. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. My reflection stared back, pale, eyes ringed with purple shadows. But there was something else, something behind me, a blur, a shadow, and her face, just for a second, pressed against my shoulder like she was leaning in for a kiss, except her mouth was open, too wide, and her teeth, God, her teeth weren't hers anymore. I spun around. Nothing. Just the empty bathroom. But when I looked back at the mirror, the reflection didn't spin with me. The mirror seal. I didn't look in that bathroom mirror again for 3 days. Call it cowardice. Call it self-preservation. I don't care. I brushed my teeth in the kitchen sink like some feral animal, because the thought of facing that reflection again made bile rise in my throat. But you can't avoid a mirror forever, and it knew that. On the 4th morning, I woke up to the sound of dripping. Not a faucet. This was slower, rhythmic, too deliberate. It came from the bathroom. Claire loved baths. She'd light candles, fill the tub almost to the brim, and stay until the water turned cold. She said the bath was the only place she could feel weightless, like she was floating. But when I pushed open the bathroom door that morning, the tub was already full and steaming. I hadn't run the water. I hadn't even set foot in there since. The reflection, the mirror was fogged again, and through the haze, another symbol had appeared, etched so deep into the glass, it looked carved with a blade. A jagged circle with slashes tearing out like broken ribs. My chest tightened. Something inside me whispered, "It's not a symbol, it's a seal." I wiped at the condensation, expecting the ice burn again, but this time, nothing. just cold glass. And then I saw it. Not me. Not exactly. My reflection tilted its head when I didn't. Its lips curled, slowly, into a grin that felt like Claire's, but stretched too wide, brittle and bitter. Then it whispered, my voice, but warped, hollow. Forever, remember? You promised. The steam thickened behind me. I spun, choking on the sudden damp air. And for a fraction of a second, just long enough to scar my mind, I saw her in the tub. Claire. Skin gray and bloated, like she'd been pulled from a lake. Her hair floated around her head, drifting in the water as if she was still breathing beneath it. Her eyes open, and she smiled. I staggered back, slamming against the sink. My gaze darted between the tub and the mirror. Both showed her, but differently. In the glass, she was sitting up, lips trembling as if about to speak. In the tub itself, nothing but rippling water. And then the mirror version leaned forward, pressed her mouth against the glass, so close I swore I could hear the wet smack of her lips. Let me out. The bathroom light flickered once, twice, then died. Darkness, silence. And when I struck the switch, desperate for light, the mirror was clean. The tub was empty, but the water on the floor. I used to think grief was just absence, a hollow space. But now I know grief isn't empty at all. It's a mouth, and it wants to be fed. The night after the tub incident, I dreamt of the hospital, Claire's last night. She'd been so pale, her hand trembling in mine. I remember whispering over and over, "You'll be okay, you'll be okay, I promise." Like saying it enough times could stitch her organs back together. And then she'd gripped my wrist hard, too hard for someone that weak. Her eyes had gone sharp. "Then promise me forever, no matter what." And I had. Because what else do you say to the person you love when they're about to leave? When I woke, the taste of iron coated my tongue. My wrist ached, like her nails had been digging in again, and carved into the wood of my nightstand. Deep gouges, I swear hadn't been. It was the same jagged circle from the mirror, the seal. I didn't even bother pretending anymore. This wasn't grief hallucinations. This wasn't my subconscious processing loss. Something was clawing its way through, and the seal, whatever the hell it was how she was doing it. That day I tore the place apart looking for answers. Old boxes, Claire's journals, the attic trunk where she kept family keepsakes. That's when I found it. A notebook, bound in cracked leather, shoved inside a shoebox like she'd meant to hide it. Inside, pages of drawings, the same jagged circle over and over, scrawled in different variations. Notes in Claire's handwriting that didn't look like her at all. Shaky, frantic, sometimes scratched so deep through the paper it nearly tore. And in the margins, little fragments. The circle opens when the promise is broken. The seal is not protection, it's a door. Do not face the reflection alone. That last one made me slam the book shut so fast dust billowed into my face, because I'd already faced it, twice, alone. That night I covered the mirror with an old bedsheet. I unplugged the bathroom light. Hell, I even taped the door shut like that flimsy strip of adhesive would keep her out. And still, at exactly 3:03 a.m., the sound woke me. Water running from inside the bathroom. The pipes moaned, gurgling with pressure. I lay frozen in bed, watching the sheet over the door tremble, as though something pressed against it from the other side. Then a voice, Claire's, but lower, raspier. "You promised me forever, but forever is a door you already opened." The bedsheet bulged. Fingers, 5 of them, protruded from beneath the fabric, pressing outward as if from inside the mirror itself. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, just listened as the pipes groaned louder, the hiss of running water rising until it was deafening. And then, silence. When I finally moved, the sheet was flat again, the pipes quiet, the tape door still sealed. But the sound hadn't come from the bathroom. It was dripping from under my bed. Under bed, the dripping wouldn't stop. Each drop hit the wood like a metronome, ticking down to something inevitable. I forced myself to lean over the edge of the mattress, just enough to peer into the shadow beneath. And there she was, Claire, wedged under the bed in a way no human body should fit, shoulders twisted, spine arched at a brutal angle, her face pressed sideways against the floorboards, her lips split wide into a grin that looked more like a wound. Her eyes were open, staring directly into mine, and she whispered, her voice muffled by wood and dust, "You said forever." Her arms moved first, too long, elbows bending wrong, dragging her forward inch by inch. The sound of bone against wood, scraping, popping. Her nails left grooves in the floor as she pulled herself closer. My heart slammed against my ribs. I scrambled back against the headboard, but she kept coming. Her neck snapped sideways, letting her face angle up at me from the impossible crawl space. Her smile widened, teeth slick with dark water that dripped down her chin. And then her shoulders. God, her shoulders broke inward as she shoved them through the narrow gap. Wood groaned, the whole bed frame shuddered. She was pulling herself out, unfolding like some broken marionette. Her head emerged fully, hair plastered wet across her face. One hand clawed the mattress, her torso followed, ribs grinding against the wood. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. She was halfway out now. I swear I felt the mattress dip as her weight shifted up onto it. Her wet breath hit my ankle. And then, bang, bang, bang. Knuckles on the front door, hard, desperate. The sound froze her. Claire's head snapped toward the noise. For a split second, her grin faltered, eyes narrowing as if she'd been caught. Then, like someone hit rewind, her body jerked back under the bed in fast, stuttering movements, joints snapping into place. The dripping stopped. Silence. And again. Bang, bang, bang. This time with a voice. A neighbor. "Hey, you okay in there? Your lights keep flickering and I thought I heard someone shouting." I didn't move, didn't answer. Just sat there staring at the dark space under the bed where Claire had been, heart rattling like a trapped bird. When I finally forced myself to look, there was nothing. No water, no scratches, just dust. But the sheets of my bed were soaked through, and when I pressed my hand into the wet fabric, it came away smelling like the hospital, antiseptic, and blood. The smell. I sat there until the knocking stopped, until the neighbor muttered something under their breath and shuffled away down the hall. But the silence that followed was worse, because the smell didn't fade. It spread. Antiseptic, metallic, that sharp sting of iron and sterile gauze, soaked into the air like I dragged a whole ward into the bedroom. I pressed my palm harder into the sheets, almost daring myself to be wrong. But no, when I lifted it, there was a faint, reddish smear across my skin. Not blood exactly, thinner, like the residue of an IV line when it's first pulled free. I knew that smell. I'd sat in it for weeks, holding Claire's hand. It was the smell of dying slowly. The hospital hadn't followed me home. Claire had. I stripped the bed in a frenzy. Sheets balled, mattress flipped. But the stink had sunk deeper. into the wood, into the air. It wasn't going anywhere. And then I noticed something I'd missed in my panic. The seal. That jagged circle was carved again, this time into the underside of the flipped mattress. Etched deep, splintering the fabric lining. Except this one was different. There were words scratched around the circle, in a looping hand that looked too much like Claire's to be coincidence. Every promise is paid in full. I backed away, my legs trembling so hard I nearly tripped over the bald sheets. My heart wouldn't slow down. And then, from the corner of the room, soft as a breath, came a laugh. Claire's. Not cruel, not mocking. Worse, it was affectionate. The same laugh she'd used when I'd forget my keys, when she took a note in my pocket just to make me smile later. That sound gutted me more than any ghostly whisper, because it wasn't just a haunting. She remembered me, and maybe she wasn't asking to come back. Maybe she was asking me to follow. Forever isn't alone. I tried to leave the house the next morning, keys in hand, coat half on, just leave. Drive anywhere, sit in a motel parking lot if I had to. But the moment I stepped out the door, the world felt wrong. The street was quiet, too quiet. No cars, no kids, not even the faint hum of traffic in the distance. Just a heavy silence pressing on my ears, like I'd walked into a soundproof box. And then the smell hit me. Antiseptic, stronger than ever. Not drifting from the house this time. No, it clung to me. My clothes, my skin. I dropped the keys. My chest seized up. I realized with sick clarity that I wasn't escaping. Wherever Claire was pulling from, she wasn't confined to the house. She was pulling me. Forever, I muttered to myself, trying to sound brave. It came out cracked, hysterical. I went back inside. That night, I read more of her notebook. The frantic pages, the scrawled seals, the words that weren't quite hers. And between the gibberish, I found something that chilled me worse than anything so far. A single page, clean. No frantic slashes, no tears, just one line, written steady and deliberate in her neatest handwriting. Forever means I don't go alone. I sat there staring until the letters blurred. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the book. She hadn't wanted me to promise her comfort. She'd wanted me to promise her company, even in death. My stomach flipped. I wanted to throw up, because suddenly all of it made sense. The voice in the dark, the reflection, the seal etched into my mattress. She wasn't punishing me. She was reminding me that I'd agreed. At 3:03 a.m., the pipes groaned again, water rushing through them like veins feeding something alive. I sat on the floor, clutching the notebook, whispering over and over, "No, no, 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 no." Then her voice, close, so close it felt like it was coming from inside my mouth. "You promised me forever, and forever doesn't break." The mirror sheet snapped down with a sudden weight. A handprint bloomed across the fabric, wet, perfect. 5 fingers spread wide. I didn't move, I couldn't, but I understood something in that moment that made my blood run colder than ever. She wasn't asking, she wasn't waiting, she was lonely, and loneliness, I realized, was stronger than death. The blessing. I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore, not with the smell of hospitals clinging to my clothes. not with the mirror handprint still wet and cold even after a day had passed. So I did the only thing I could think of. I called a priest. Father Donnelly wasn't the kind of man you'd expect in horror movies. No hollow eyes, no grim pronouncements about damnation. Just a tired old guy with a kind face and a wheeze in his chest. He brought a little silver vial of holy water, a crucifix that gleamed under my living room lamp, and an attitude that felt more like a social worker than a soldier of God. He listened, patiently. I told him about the seals, the mirror, the whispers. I even showed him the notebook. He turned the pages slowly, nodding in that careful way people do when they're humoring a crazy person. "You've been through a lot, son," he said gently. "Grief makes us see what isn't there, but the Lord comforts us even in shadows." I wanted to shake him. "It's real. It's real." But instead, I just watched as he moved from room to room, sprinkling holy water, murmuring blessings. The droplets clung to the walls, the doors, the bathroom mirror still covered with its sheet. When he was done, he patted my shoulder. "There's nothing in this house but memory, and memory can't hurt you." He left me with a cross to keep by the bed, said to hold it if the fear came back. That night, for the first time in weeks, I almost believed him. Almost. Until 3:03 a.m. The sound of water woke me, gushing, rushing, like everything in the house had burst at once. The air turned damp, heavy. And then came the laugh, not mocking, not cruel. Amused. From the darkness, you think a sprinkle of water keeps me out. I was with you in the hospital, in the prayers, in the silence. You think faith frightens me? The sheet over the mirror bulged outward, twice, like something hitting from inside. The holy water that had dried there began to bead again, shimmering in the moonlight, before streaking downward as if dragged by invisible fingers. And then her voice changed, lower, thick with venom. "Don't ever bring him here again." The mirror cracked behind the fabric, a single sharp pop that echoed through the room. The cross on my nightstand toppled, and the antiseptic smell surged so strong I gagged. I curled up on the bed, cross-clutched tight, shaking as her whisper slid through the room like smoke. "Forever means only us." 3:03. After Father Donnelly's visit, I stopped pretending anyone could help me. The seals weren't just marks, they were rules. And the rules weren't his to break. I didn't call anyone else, not friends, not family. I didn't want them dragged into this. It was me and Claire, always me and Claire. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about the time. 3:03 a.m. Exactly. Every single night. Why then? Why always then? I went back to her notebook, flipping through the frantic scribbles until my eyes blurred. And there it was, buried in the middle, written small like she hadn't wanted me to notice. 3:03 is when the door is weakest, not open, but thin. If the seal is marked, the promise can cross. I read it again. The words dug into me like teeth. 3:03 wasn't random. It wasn't the witching hour. It was when Claire could bleed through, when my promise had weight enough to bind us. And I remembered the night she died. I'd fallen asleep in the hospital chair, forehead pressed to the mattress by her hand. When I jolted awake, the red digits of the clock glared in the corner. 3:03 a.m. Her hand was still warm, but she wasn't breathing. She died at 3:03. That's when I promised her forever. Oh, the irony. I thought I was comforting her. Turns out I was signing a contract. That night, I sat awake watching the clock tick toward it. My hands shook so hard the cross nearly fell from my grip. 3 o'clock, 3:01, 3:02, and then, just as the numbers turned,
sheet on the mirror sagged, like something leaned against it from the inside, and then her whisper, low and coaxing, wrapping around me like arms from the dark. I waited. You said forever. You belong to me in this minute. My throat locked. Tears burned my eyes. I choked out, "No, I didn't mean it like this." The laugh that followed was guttural, cruel. "Then you shouldn't have said it when the door was open." The mirror cracked again. This time, 2 lines, like something pressing harder. I clutched the cross until it cut my palm. But it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Because I finally understood. 303 wasn't just when she died. It was when she decided I wouldn't be allowed to live without her.
Running in circles. I went to war with my own house. Every mirror smashed. The bathroom, the hallway, the little one by the front door Claire used to check her lipstick. Shattered glass filled the trash bags like sharp ice. I tore the bedsheet off the bathroom mirror, dragged it into the yard, and took a hammer to it until the frame split. My neighbors probably thought I'd lost it. They weren't wrong. But at 3:03 a.m., the sound still came. Not from a mirror this time, from the dark screen of my turned-off television. Her face, faint, like a reflection in black water. Her lips moving, her whisper bleeding out of the speakers that shouldn't have been on. "You promised." I ripped the TV out of the wall and left it in the street. The next night, I refused to stay in the house at all. I drove. Endless loops of highways, headlights streaking across my windshield, radio blasting to keep me awake. But at 3:03 a.m., the static cut through the speakers. Not a channel, not music, just static that shaped itself into her voice. "You can drive forever. I'll be in the back seat." I nearly crashed the car. So the next night I tried the opposite. Noise, light, people. I dragged myself into a nightclub downtown, bass hammering my chest. Sweat and perfume thick in the air. I thought if I drowned in bodies, if I surrounded myself with the living, she couldn't reach me. I drank too much, tried to lose myself in the strobe lights, and for a while, it almost worked. Until 3:03, the music didn't stop, but it changed. For me, every beat turned hollow, muffled, as if the DJ had vanished and someone else was whispering through the speakers. "Forever doesn't break." I stumbled into the bathroom, splashing water on my face, telling myself it wasn't real. But when I looked up, no mirror, just tiles. But her reflection was there anyway, leaning against my shoulder, lips close to my ear. "I don't care where you go. Forever means you'll always hear me." I left the club drenched in sweat, shaking. I didn't even make it back to my car. I just sat on the curb, clutching my head, whispering prayers I didn't believe in. And the worst part, the antiseptic smell had followed me there, into the club, into the night air. She wasn't tied to the house. She was tied to me. The pull. It started with the smell. I couldn't wash it off anymore, no matter how many showers, how much soap. The reek of antiseptic clung to me, like I'd slept in a hospital bed and carried the sheets on my skin. Then came the weakness. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, muscles trembling, as if I'd run miles in my sleep. My hands shook when I tried to hold a glass of water. My reflection on windows, dark screens, anything that would catch it, looked thinner, paler, eyes hollowed by purple bruises. Bitter. I told myself it was stress, malnutrition, insomnia, but I knew better,
Not just the whispers, not just the smell. A weight, a tug inside my chest, like my heartstrings were being reeled in. Each time it grew harder to resist. Last night I actually moved, not sleepwalking. No, I was awake, fully awake, clutching the cross until it dug into my palm. And still, when the clock flipped, my body lurched toward the mirrorless bathroom door. My feet dragged me 3 steps forward before I collapsed, sobbing, forcing myself to crawl back. And the whole time, her voice hummed in my ear. "Don't fight it. You're tired. I can take the weight for you." This morning I noticed something new. Scratches. Long, thin, red. Across my arms, my chest, my ribs. I don't remember making them. I don't even have nails sharp enough to do it. They looked like the kind of marks you'd get if someone was pulling you through a narrow space, like floorboards or under a bed. My body isn't mine anymore. It's weakening, bending, making room for her promise. And deep down, under the fear, under the panic, a part of me whispers something worse. I miss her. That's the real danger. Not the seals, not the hour. It's that I still want her.
The voice inside. I stop checking the time. Doesn't matter. I always know when it's close. The air thickens. My heartbeat staggers. And that whisper, that goddamn whisper, finds its way under my skin. At first it was only outside me, in the mirrors, in the dark corners of the room. Now it's inside, not just in my ears, in my thoughts. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm the one speaking. Sarcastically, I'll catch myself muttering, "Forever doesn't break," under my breath while making coffee, like it's a grocery list item I don't want to forget. Or humming her laugh while I brush my teeth, my own mouth shaping her voice. Last night was worse. I dreamed I was back in the hospital, standing over her bed. She opened her eyes, reached for me, and instead of pulling away, I climbed in beside her, laid my head on her chest. And when I woke up, I was on the floor, pressed against the wood, where she'd crawled from under the bed. The smell of antiseptic clung to my skin, stronger. But this time, there was something else. Perfume, Claire's, the lavender one I'd buried with her. Whispers, unsteady. It wasn't just memory anymore. It was her. I tried to tell myself I could resist, that I could hold out. But the seals are everywhere now. On the back of my closet door, etched into the dust, on my windowsill, scratched faintly into my skin, as if traced by invisible fingers while I slept. And every time I see them, the voice inside me grows louder. Soft laugh, broken. Don't you see? This isn't punishment. It's love. I kept my side of forever. Now, keep yours. I don't know where her voice ends and mine begins anymore. And I'm terrified of the day I stop caring about the difference. The door. I didn't sleep last night. Not even a second. I sat on the floor, clutching the cross until my hand cramped, watching the red digits on the clock crawl toward inevitability. 2:59, 3 o'clock, 3:01. Every breath was a countdown. 3:02. The air shifted, thicker. My ears popped like I was in an airplane. The antiseptic smell crashed down, heavy and suffocating, flooding every inch of the house. And then, 3:03, the seals lit. Not with fire, not with light, worse, with water. Thin streams
poured from the carved lines, dripping onto the floor, filling the house with the sound of 100 hospital faucets left running. The jagged circles shimmered like wet glass, and then they weren't symbols anymore. They were openings. The mirror sheet fell flat, soaked, revealing not my reflection, but a deep glow. White tiles, fluorescent lights flickering, stretching endlessly. A hospital wing that shouldn't exist. From inside it came the sound of footsteps, slow, wet, slapping against the tile. And then Claire. She stepped forward, or rather through, her hand pressed against the glass-thin barrier, skin gray and veined like marble. Her face was hers, but waterlogged, hair dripping, lips cracked, eyes shining too bright. She smiled when she saw me. Forever. The barrier bulged outward with her hand, the seal stretching like the surface of water. She pushed harder. Her wrist broke through, dripping onto the floorboards with dark rivulets. Her fingers curled, reaching for me. I screamed, shambled back into the corner, cross held out like a weapon. She kept coming, her arm, her shoulder, the seal bent around her body, the frame of the mirror groaning as if it couldn't contain her. The antiseptic reek burned my lungs. My chest seized, and through the stench came that second smell, lavender perfume, Claire's perfume, the one she wore on our wedding day. Her head pressed against the glass, warping as it pushed through, teeth bared in a smile that was too wide, too eager. She wasn't whispering anymore. She was pleading. You promised me. Don't let me go alone. The barrier shattered. Glass rained down. Water gushed onto the floor, surging around me in icy waves. Claire's body tumbled halfway through, dragging herself into my world with inhuman jerks. Elbows bending wrong, joints snapping back into place. I couldn't move, couldn't think. Just sat there choking on the smell of death and lavender. She was almost out, almost here. And in that moment, I understood there was no resisting forever. Through, the glass gave way with a sound like bones breaking underwater. And then she was in the room. Claire. Not a reflection, not a voice. Here. She rose from the wreckage of the seal, water pouring from her hair, her skin slick and grey as if dredged from a lake. Her hospital gown clung to her frame, dripping black stains across the floorboards. Her eyes locked on mine, and for a heartbeat, just one, I almost believed it was really her. The woman I loved. My Claire. Then she smiled, and her mouth opened too wide. Rows of teeth, sharp and wrong, filling her grin until it split her cheeks. I pressed the cross against my chest so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. My voice barely worked. Claire, please, don't. She tilted her head, water dripping from her chin. Whispers, tender but warped. Don't what? You asked me to stay. You begged me not to leave you. Her steps sloshed as she came closer, each one leaving a dark puddle that hissed against the wood. The antiseptic smell was overwhelming now, burning the back of my throat. I tried to crawl away, but my arms trembled, weak as paper. She knelt in front of me, hair hanging wet around her face, perfume curling through the hospital stench like a cruel memory. Her hand reached out, cold, impossibly cold, and brushed my cheek. And for one terrible, perfect second, it felt like her. Her skin, her touch. I almost leaned into it. Then her grip tightened, too strong. Bones in my face creaked under her fingers. She yanked me forward until her lips were beside my ear. Her voice was a whisper, but it carried like thunder in my skull. Whispers hoarse. Forever doesn't end, not even here. I screamed, desperate broken scream, fought against her grip, but she pulled me closer still. Her other hand pressed against my chest, right over my heart, and I felt it. A tug, a wrenching, like she was trying to pull me through the seal with her. The room spun. My vision flickered with harsh, fluorescent light, as if I were already inside the hospital corridor behind her. The floor beneath me felt cold, tiled, and then she began to pull. Her mouth opened wider, too wide, teeth glinting in the dark, and she whispered again, giddy now, triumphant. Haha, come with me, you promised.
The embrace. Her grip on my face was unbreakable. Cold fingers digging into my skin, nails biting deep enough to draw blood. I clawed at her wrists, but she didn't move, didn't flinch. Her other hand pressed harder against my chest, and I felt it. My heart stuttering, faltering, like she was stealing its rhythm for herself.
It's easier if you just let go.
The antiseptic reek filled my lungs, my vision blurred with harsh white light. For a moment, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was in that endless hospital corridor, fluorescent bulbs buzzing overhead, tiles slick with water that dripped from nowhere. I tried to scream, but my throat wouldn't open. And still she pulled. Her smile was radiant now. Terrifying, but radiant. Like she'd won. Like every night of whispering, every seal, every tug at my soul had been leading to this one moment.
Forever doesn't end. Not even here. Especially not here.
And then my body broke. Not with pain, no. With surrender. I sagged forward into her arms, my fight gone. My chest pressed against her dripping hospital gown, the cold soaking into me, until it felt like it was my own temperature, my own blood slowing to match hers. She wrapped herself around me, like she used to when the world outside our bed didn't exist. Like nothing had changed. Except everything had. Her hair brushed my face, damp and heavy. Her perfume, lavender, faint but insistent, rose above the rot. I wanted to push her away, to scream, but instead I leaned in, and for a breath, one terrible, stolen breath, it felt right. Her lips brushed my ear.
You kept your promise.
The seals around us shimmered, rippled, and then collapsed inward. Not closing, no, opening wider. The hospital corridor yawned behind her, infinite and waiting, and she pulled me into it. My body slid forward, weightless. The room dissolved around me, the bed, the walls, the broken mirror, all drowned in white tile and buzzing light. Claire's arms tightened around me as we sank deeper into that corridor, her smile the last thing anchoring me to what little remained of myself. And I understood. I wasn't being haunted. I was being kept. Forever. The truth. I need to tell you what really happened, what I did. It wasn't just a promise whispered in grief, or the delirium of watching the woman I love fade away. No, it was worse. The night Claire died, I felt her slipping, her breath shallow, her fingers cold, her eyes fixed on something I couldn't see. I panicked, I begged. Please don't leave
silent against my chest. My own heart is faltering, slowing, each beat weaker than the last, dragged toward hers like iron to a magnet. I thought I was resisting all this time. I thought I was fighting. But the truth is, I've been hers since that night in the hospital. The last thing I see is her face, shining with joy, her teeth sharp and endless, but her smile still hers, always hers. And then, nothing. My heart stopped, and I stayed. Forever.